Hey, welcome back. This is Genesis chapter 9. God confirms his covenant. There's going to be some things that come up here and make you go, and what's up with that? Well, don't forget that this is the Old Testament. This is the beginning. Things will change, especially come the New Testament. But this is how it started. Then God blessed Noah and his sons and told them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, all the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the animals on the ground, the fish in the sea will look to you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grain and vegetables. But you must never eat any meat that still has lifeblood in it." Why is that? I believe because then the animal's going to suffer. You're eating it alive. You haven't killed it yet. Lifeblood. But also, blood carries parasites. And we're not trying to get sick here, people. We're trying to move forward. "And I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die. And anyone who murders a fellow human must die. If anyone takes a human life, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. For God made human beings in his own image. Now be fruitful and multiply, and populate the earth, and repopulate the earth." Then God told Noah and his sons, "I hereby confirm my covenant with you and your descendants, and with all the animals that were on the boat with you, the birds, the livestock, all the animals, the creatures on earth. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will flood waters kill all the living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth." He says flood. He doesn't say, anything about other torrential weather. Then God said, I am giving you listen here. Then God said, "I am giving you a sign of my covenant with you and with all living creatures for all generations to come." Listen here. "I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is a sign of my covenant with you and with all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear in the clouds, and I will remember my covenant with you and with all living creatures. Never again will the flood waters destroy all life. When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth." Then God said to Noah, "Yes, this rainbow is the sign of the covenant I am confirming with all creatures on earth. Do what you want, do what you will. But I see a certain demographic of people that have taken the rainbow, God's covenant sign, and used it for their own purposes." That's self-destruction, if you ask me. Taking God's first covenant, his first sign, and using it for a sinful nature. Noah's sons. The sons of Noah who came out of the boat with their father were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. From these three sons of Noah come all the people who now populate the earth. After the flood, Noah began to cultivate the ground. He began to farm, and he planted a vineyard, vines, grapes, etc. Wine comes from grapes, and grapes come from vineyards. One day he drank some wine he had made, and he became drunk and laid naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe, held it over their shoulders, and backed into the tent to cover their father. As they did this, they looked the other way so they would not see him naked. This is fantastic. I mean, there's like a little bit of comedy here, right? When Noah's drunk. Come on, Noah's drunk. When Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives. There's so much here. Then Noah said, May the Lord, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. May God expand the territory of Japheth. May Japheth share the prosperity of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Noah lived another 350 years. After the great flood, he lived 950 years, and then he died. I thought he lived 930 years. Irregardless, the couple things that pop into my mind when I read this is that he cursed Canaan, Ham's son. Canaan will become the land of Canaan, I believe, and that's where many, many, many pagans come from down the road. And I don't know if this has any relevance at all, but what do we call the meat off of pigs that we eat? We call it the ham. And I know it comes from the hamstring, but it just happens to be relevant to the case that this guy's name was Ham. Let's dive into chapter 10. This is the account of the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the three sons of Noah. Many children were born to them after the great flood. The descendants of Japheth. I am not reading all these names. Their descendants became the seafaring people that spread out to various lands. Here we go. Separation, moving out, moving around, spreading the earth. The descendants of Ham. The descendants of Cush. What? All right. The descendants of Ham. The descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush were a whole bunch of people. Cush was also the ancestor of Nimrod, who was the first heroic warrior on earth. Since he was the greatest hunter in the world, his name became proverbial. That's Cush. People would say, this man is like Nimrod, the greatest hunter in the world. He built his kingdom in the land of Babylonia, with the cities of Babylon, Erech, Arad, and Calneh. From there, he expanded his territory to Assyria, building the cities of Nineveh. Hello, Nineveh. That's Jonah and the whale. I don't know how you say this one. Rehoboth-ir, Kalan, and Resen, the great city located between Nineveh and Calha. The descendants of Shem. I mean, he's just got a lot of kids. The territory they occupied extended from Mesha all the way to Seper in the eastern mountains. I'm probably destroying these names. I'm doing my best. Don't think I'm that great at reading. These were the descendants of Shem, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity. Listen, these were the descendants of Shem, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity. So we already have a great division. We already have different languages being spoken. These are thousands of years that have passed. Noah lived 900 years. That's essentially 1,000 years. Now we're talking about his children and their children. Chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language. Now we're going to explain this. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As the people migrated to the east, they found a plain in the land of Babylonia and settled there. They began saying to each other, "Let's make bricks and harden them with fire." In this region, bricks were used instead of stone, and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches to the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. You see the great tower? There it is. We can walk away as far as we can until we can't see the tower, and then we need to come back to the tower. We don't want to be scattered anymore. We want a tribal. We want to come together for strength." The call of Abram. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country and relatives and your father's family and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." Not if you don't believe in them. So Abram, who was soon to become Abraham, so Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Who's Lot, right? Haven't mentioned that yet. We got to use our brains and think and remember. So Abram departed as the Lord instructed, and Lot went with him. I think Lot's his nephew. Abram was 75 years old. Oh, he's a baby. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, soon to become Sarah, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites, pagans. And this oak of Moreh, it's still identified in the Middle East today. They know where the location is. That's what makes the Bible an amazing collection of books. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your descendants." And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshipped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages toward the Negev. What does that mean? He started here, boom, boom, stages. He didn't just go. He worked his way there. And he's headed towards the Negev. Abram and Sarai in Egypt. Okay, where are we at? Where's Egypt? North Africa. At that time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan. Canaan's not that far. It's a little bit east, but it's not in Africa. I don't think. At that time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, oh man, come on now. Listen. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, Abram said to his wife, Sarai, "Look, you are a very beautiful woman." That's a compliment. That's nice. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, "This is his wife. Let's kill him so that we can have her. So please tell them you're my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you." Come on now. And sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone noticed Sarai's beauty, and the palace officials saw her. Man, should have just covered her face, put a veil on her. They sang her praises to Pharaoh, the king, and Sarai was taken into his palace. Dang. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female, donkeys, male and female, servants, and camels. Man, how beautiful was she? He pimped out his wife. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. "What have you done to me?" he demanded. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister? And allow me to take her as my wife. Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get out of here." Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them, and he sent Abram out of the country along with his wife and all of his possessions. Chapter 13, Abram and Lot separate. That's his nephew. So Abram left Egypt and traveled north into the Negev, along with his wife and Lot and all that they owned. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. Yeah, where did he get it from? From the Negev, they continued traveling by stages towards Bethel, and they pitched their tents between Bethel and Ai, where they had camped before. This was the same place where Abram had built the altar where he had worshipped the Lord again. Lot, his nephew, who was traveling with Abram, had also become very wealthy with flocks of sheep and goats and herds of cattle and many tents. Who'd he pimp out? But the land could not support both Abram and Lot with all their flocks and herds living so close together. So disputes broke out between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. At that time, Canaanites, these are pagans, at that time, Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land. Finally, Abram said to Lot, "Let's not allow this conflict to come between us or our herdsmen. After all, we are close relatives. The whole countryside is open to you. Take your choice of any section of the land you want, and we will separate. You go your way, I'll go mine, but you choose. If you want the land to the left, then I'll take the land to the right. If you prefer the land on the right, then I'll go left. No worries." Lot took a long look at the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley in the direction of Zoar. The whole area was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord or the beautiful land of Egypt. Egypt is dry as a bone now. Back then it was wet. He just said it. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, which is soon to come. Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley to the east of them. Oh, should have went west. I keep losing my space every time I let a thought come out of my mouth. Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley to the east of them. He went there with his flocks and servants and parted company with his uncle Abram. So Abram settled in the land of Canaan, and Lot moved his tents to a place near Sodom and settled among the cities of the plain. But the people of this area were extremely wicked, pagan, and constantly sinned against the Lord. Now, we haven't really been introduced the concept of sin. How can you sin against the Lord if you don't know what sin is? Because later on in the Bible, we find out that God says for those that have never been introduced to the concept of God, he has at least written the law on their hearts. So people know right from wrong. After Lot had gone, the Lord said to Abram, "Look as far as you can see in every direction, north and south, east and west. I am giving all of this land to you as far as you can see, to you and your descendants, as a permanent possession. And I will give you so many descendants that, like the dust of the earth, they cannot be counted. Go and walk through the land in every direction, for I am giving it to you." So Abram moved his camp to Hebron and settled near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. Remember that? There he built another altar to the Lord. Chapter 14, Abram rescues Lot. About this time, war broke out in the region. I'm going to destroy these names. King Amraphel of Babylonia, King Arioch of a whole bunch of kings, fought against King Ber of Sodom, King Bishar of Gomorrah, So we have Sodom and Gomorrah, and then a whole bunch of other kings that are all fighting. It's like a world war. The second group of kings joined forces in Siddim Valley. That is the valley of the Dead Sea. Hello. For 12 years, they had been subject to King Kedorlaomer, but in their 13th year he rebelled against them. 1 year later, Kedorlaomer and his allies arrived and defeated the Raphaites, pagans, a lot of pagans. They defeated a lot of the pagans, a whole bunch of different names, at the edge of the wilderness, near Mount Seir. Then they turned back and came to En Misfat, now called Kadesh, and conquered, that's the important part, and conquered all the territory of the Amalekites, also the Amorites living in Hazan Tamar. Then the rebel kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and all these other places prepared for battle in the valley of the Dead Sea. They fought against many of these kings, and the valley of the Dead Sea was filled with tar pits. And as the army of the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into the tar pits, while the rest escaped into the mountains. The victorious invaders then plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed for home, taking with them all the spoils of war and the food supplies. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew who lived in Sodom, and carried everyone off he owned. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram the Hebrew. Now we have Abram the Hebrew. Hebrew means one who wanders. Who was living near the oak grove belonging to Mamre, the Amorite. Mamre and his relatives were Abram's allies. This is really building up so that we get a full understanding of what is going on and the nonsense, the chaos of these two major cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities would be like Los Angeles and New York, except they're close together. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he mobilized the 318 trained men who had been born into his household. Man, that's a lot of kids. Then he pursued Kedorlaomer's army until he caught up with them at Dan. There he divided his men and attacked during the night. Kedorlaomer's army fled, but Abram chased them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. Hello, Damascus. Remember Damascus? Damascus is where St. Paul, the Apostle Paul, was headed to when he was a Jew trying to kill Christ. He was headed to Damascus. That's where Jesus interrupted and changed Paul from a Jew to a Christian. Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken, and he brought back his nephew Lot with his possessions, and all the women and their captives. Melchizedek blesses Abram. After Abram returned from his victory over Chedorlaomer and all his allies, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in a valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of God Most High, brought Abram some bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing. Before we get into the blessing, just consider the idea that we haven't ever heard of this Melchizedek yet. This is getting confusing, right? But keep in mind that all of these cities are very close to one another. They are essentially walking distance. And now we hear that Melchizedek is a priest of the God Most High. This is our first introduction of a priest, a leader, a faithful follower of the God Most High. So we're getting out of that pagan element, and now we're establishing the Lord's kingdom. Blessed be Abram by the God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you. Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the goods he had recovered. What do we say about a tenth? What do churches say about a tenth? You got to give a tenth of your earnings to the church, right? This is the first time we hear of this. Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the goods he had recovered. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give back my people who were captured, but you may keep for yourself all the goods you have recovered." He wants his people back. Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I solemnly swear to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a single thread or sandal thong from what belongs to you. Otherwise, you might say, I'm the one who made Abram rich. I will accept only what my young warriors have already eaten. And I request that you give a fair share of the goods to my allies, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. I don't want your dirty money. You ain't going to tell people you're the one that set me up, because God above is the one that set me up. Chapter 15, and we'll wrap it up. The Lord's covenant promised to Abram. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision, a dream, a thought during meditation. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all of my wealth. You have given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will be my heir. That means they're going to receive. Abraham doesn't have any kids to hand all his stuff down, so he's going to give it to one of his servants who's probably a pagan. Then the Lord said to him, No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir. He says, you will have a son of your own who will be the heir. He doesn't say you're going to have a lot of kids. You're not going to have a lot of sons that will be the heir. You're going to have one son that will be the heir. You may have a lot of sons, but one of them will be the heir, the recipient of all your wealth. Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have. And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, I am the Lord who brought you out of out of Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land as your possession. But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it? This is funny to me because he's questioning God. The same as Moses will soon question God. The same as we question God. O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it? The Lord told him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So Abram presented all of these to him and killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle and laid the halves side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. Some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came down over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. 4 generations. People are still living for hundreds and hundreds of years. How long is 4 generations? A couple thousand years? A few thousand years? After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking firepot and flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. Hold on, let's do this again. After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking firepot with a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, I have given this land to your descendants, all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River. Oh man, there's a Euphrates River coming into play today. Look it up. The land now occupied by Kenites, Kenizzites, Kedemites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hippitites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. A lot of sites. That is it. There is so much to each and every paragraph and each and every line of the Bible. You can't breeze through it. You can't just flow through it. You have to take your time and understand and look up. This is the best time to do it. I mean, we've never had this ability in technology. There's no reason people should not have faith these days and understand. That is called the book of life right there. You ever play a game and you don't understand the rules because you didn't read the rules? You will lose the game. The book of life has rules. It's a game. It's a book of life. This is the rule book. I highly suggest you read it and understand it because it'll better guide your life, I hope. In Jesus' name, peace.